Well, thanks for joining myself, Bobbie Jackson and Tom McGarry today as we take you through some of the big transfer lines that have started to emerge. We're into the busy summer months where, of course, managers and clubs are ready to throw about a bit of cash to enhance their squads ahead of the new season, the 2019-20 campaign. We're going to start off talking about Solomon Rondon. He's a player that's been widely tipped to return to Newcastle on a permanent deal. He performed really well for them on loan from West Brom last season, scored 12 goals across all competitions and was one of the key reasons why in the end they were able to stay well clear of the relegation zone. He's now been linked with a potential move to Turkey. Fenerbahce, the latest side to be linked with his services. Wolves and West Ham, also Premier League clubs, have also been linked with the Venezuelan striker. I mean, he's got a lot to offer, hasn't he, Tom? And you can understand now why more clubs are starting to enter the race.
Yeah, he's a player I rate really highly. I'm surprised other clubs higher up the echelons of the Premier League aren't willing to take a chance on him. He scores goals, he's physical, he holds the ball up and brings others into play. He's a really good striker, 11 goals in a Newcastle side that didn't score many last season. I think for me, he'd be a really shrewd signing. Newcastle want him. You've mentioned Wolves. They've got the lure of European football, haven't they? He may want to go there. But the link to Fenerbahce is quite interesting because it's a chance to join a team he would expect to be challenging for league titles and cups domestically, and that could be one that really interests him. There's another player as well, of course, who's been linked heavily with a move away from the Premier League, and that's Cristian Eriksen, who's said really that he's interested in a new challenge elsewhere. Real Madrid believed to be heavily interested. That would be tempting for anyone. It would be a huge blow if Spurs were to lose him. They've been linked with like Giovanni Lo Celso and Bruno Fernandes most recently to come in and potentially replace Eriksen, but it really would be big shoes to fill.
It would be very difficult. I mean, a Denmark international, he captains his national team. He's been such an asset to the Premier League club, hasn't he? One of the driving forces, as you say, to the reason why they got to the Champions League final. And he seems as though there's a calming influence on the squad as well, doesn't he? But he'd be a great signing for Real Madrid. He doesn't seem as though he's one of those players that's got a huge ego. Seems as they would go and just settle in nicely, continue going about his business in the same way that he has always done. But you'd imagine it will command a huge fee if Tottenham are to sell him. And if they're looking to enhance their squad, they might be able to get a couple of players in to fill his boots, potentially. Talking of big boots to fill, and David De Gea is another line we're going off today. The Manchester United goalkeeper has been linked with a move to Paris Saint-Germain, and this comes off the back of yesterday's news that Gianluigi Buffon is leaving PSG after just 1 year with the French giants. So David De Gea is the one that appears to be the leading candidate to take over from the Italian there in the in the French capital in Paris. You'd imagine a huge fee would have to be shelled out for De Gea.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though he had a bit of a wobble towards the end of last season, he's still one of the best goalkeepers in the world. So I would suspect Manchester United would be desperate to keep hold of him. There's rumblings about whether or not he's willing to sign a new contract, wants a pay rise. So that remains to be seen. There may come a point where United need to cash in, but I'm sure at least for the next 12 months or so, they'll want to keep hold of him. Which brings us on to our final bit of transfer news. It involves Arsenal, and they've been heavily linked once again with Belgium international Yannick Carrasco. They wanted to sign him in January. He's playing in the Chinese Super League at the moment. Couldn't get a deal done, but surely if he is available, like he says he is, then it would be a really good signing for Arsenal.
Yeah, I really rate Carrasco, a Belgian international, as you mentioned, and he's quick, he's tricky, he's really dynamic, and it was a shame, I think, that he left the European shores to go and further his career elsewhere. Feels a bit money motivated, didn't it? But he wants to come back now, realises that at his age he's still got a lot of football ahead of him, and you just have to question whether Arsenal are going to be the preferred destination in the end. Of course, they're not playing in the Champions League next season, and there is a restricted budget as well for Unai Emery, so whether they can even afford him, I suppose, is a question that really needs to be answered over the next few weeks. But certainly a move back to Europe looks as though it will be on the cards for Carrasco. It's just whether the Emirates is that final destination. Well, that's it from myself and Tom. Make sure you do come back and join us here for more transfer talk over this busy summer. Do follow us on social media as well. And of course, subscribe on YouTube.